Good morning, everybody. John Chester, Operations, working with Southwest Incident Management Team 2. Today is Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, and we'll get started with our operational overview of the south zone of the Calf Canyon Hermits Peak fire. So, starting out, we have a repair group kind of up in the Gascon area, and they're starting to work on those dozer lines. So up in this country, up in here, and so they're starting to work. They've been working on those dozer lines and basically rehabbing and pulling the berms back and putting water bars in and water diverting type of tools to prevent the erosion and the runoff as the water may start touching those exposed dirt areas from the suppression actions. So that work is continuing. There'll also be, chipping whatever kind of slash may be along some of those and spreading that slash if there's stuff left along those dozer lines. And that really all just goes into preventing erosion. And so as when we talk about spreading the slash, as the water falls and it hits those, it kind of breaks it up into smaller pellets and it disperses that more evenly over the ground. So there's a lot that goes into the process of developing that repair plan. And where they want to put certain what we would call containment features or control features for the runoff as well. So spacing out their water bars, diverting them to one side or the other side, and alternating so that we don't put a whole bunch of water on just one side, and then spreading existing vegetation back over those areas to provide some more of that protection from the elements. So whether it's wind, water, etc., and then unauthorized use is probably another a good one where those are at. So we do have a group that's up in here in this area. Coming back down into the lower Rosiata and this area, the Lone Pine Mesa, we got folks that are continuing to do work in there, and that work is ongoing, and it's going to be the same kind of work that's going on in the upper part of the division there. Coming down into Big Pine, those folks, a few days ago we had the incident there where the thing started to flare up in an unburned green island, and it started progressing back down into the houses around Young Canyon and Calf Canyon again. That work has been very successful. They're able to start pulling that equipment out and coming back out of the Big Pine area. So that is another good stroke for us, and continuing to work the rehab coming down out of the canyon there as you come back towards the east on the incident there. So all of Branch 12 is being analyzed and proposed for that repair and rehab or repair work that is going to go on in the Branch 11, the Alpha Bravo area. So all those internal dozer lines, all the stuff that we did to halt or slow down the advancement of the incident there. As we come down around into what is now Branch 15, the lower upper Colonias, what we call divisions Charlie, Delta, and Echo, that work is still ongoing on in there. We are strengthening those control lines, continue to do that. We're also starting to implement and look at the repair in those areas as well. So that is really largely and due to the all the hard work that went on there. We can get back in there and have good, meaningful work done prior to any kind of storms that may come in. So they are starting to analyze and assess that, and they will be ordering the equipment to start making that leap into the repair in those areas as well. Coming out of the creek here, Bull Creek up into the Skyline Trail, still continuing to mop that up. And I know we've been talking about maybe putting some of the black line that you would see on some of the other portions of the fire that it shows it as being contained, controlled. Hopefully we'll be adding along that Skyline Ridge for that as well. So coming on up into the Elk Mountain area, the work is continuing to enhance and implement the indirect line strategies using bulldozers and other equipment. We got along here, it's the 645 road. That is our containment line as of now, but we're coming off here in this area here and kind of bringing in a secondary control line that will become the primary when that is completed. So using the bulldozer just to push away the burnable vegetation, get that down to mineral soil, and then start doing that prep work along that so that we have a good control feature that we can hold fire on as it gets to there. Working along up into the 63 corridor towards Cowles, Geronimo, Iron Gate trailhead here. that work is still continuing. They're still continuing to strengthen those control lines, continuing to do added structure protection, so evaluating the residences or the homes or the structures in that area in preparation for the fire moving into that area. Coming on up into Beatty Spike, work continues up into the wilderness along the Pecos River with hand line towards the zone break from the north and the south. We're also looking at some contingency that comes out of Beatty, comes up into here, and then it kind of runs the district boundaries up to this 736 that you see on the map up here. So 736 is significant in the event that that's what the north is coming down. The north zone is coming down with their containment lines, and so that's a good meeting point for us both with the break in terrain and fuels. It allows us to have a good, strong tie-in point. And so when we talk about fire operations implemented on the ground, we have two really contentious points of action: our anchor point where we begin and our tie-in points where we meet. And so this is a tie-in point for us with the north zone, and so we want those to be really strong. Oftentimes those are areas where we want to make sure that we finish the product right, so it overlaps. And sometimes maybe one group will slow down and the other group will slow down, but what we really want to do is make sure we get a real good, strong tie-in and we have a good control feature at those points. And so anchor points and tie-in points are really important to us, and we want to make sure that we got a good one up there. Alrighty, so now coming back just to touch on a few more things here. The Spring Mountain area is where the activity continues to be. You'll see some growth in those areas. And I know over the past couple days there were some conversations about burning you might have heard in this update, and then maybe the community meeting. So I just want to touch on that and go into a little bit of a detail about it and just chat through a couple options and some things that we're thinking about and concerns that we have as we start to prepare for and potentially implement that operation down the road. And so just really what I want to, what we can reinforce and talk about is, one, the fire that's out there on the landscape right now is going to help dictate how and when we begin that operation. So we've got a team of folks who are predominantly just working on developing that plan, continuing to buff out all the little pieces in it that we need to have buffered out as we begin to implement that or prepare to implement that if that occurs. And so some of the things, just generally speaking for everybody, we establish some places where, okay, hey, we got to begin or we got to do it because we want to do this. And so the main focus of that operation is, one, to bring the fire to the control lines on our terms. So we don't want the fire just to make that uncontrolled run to our containment line. So that poses problems for us, potentially in holding that dozer line or that containment line, and two, keeping it from slopping over. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to take that fire when it pushes the card for us or the envelope and says, hey, you've got to start making those decisions. And we want to be able to do that to implement it at a pace where we can control it and maintain some of the integrity for the watershed, and also to protect the structures down here in the Tres Lagunas area, Cowles, Geronimo. And so we want to bring the fire to the containment line on our terms and not the fire's terms. And so with that, we have developed, we're developing a plan as needed to bring fire down along here and then from up in this area to kind of just buffer this zone out as needed. And so that's not like we're just going to go do it tomorrow because that's when we want to do it. So, there's potential that we get some wetting rains over the incident that may slow things down. It may give us time to prepare even more to implement that. It also could potentially, depend on the amount and the duration, it might also mean that this could go into a monitor phase where we could be waiting for further weather later on, and that just holds up and it doesn't back through that. So there's a lot of variables in that. We do have, the moisture out there today and the cooler temperatures, the higher RHs that are really benefiting us and allowing us that more time and more options. And that's what, as we get more time, we get more options. And so that is really critical for us in deciding whether or not we're going to implement this overall big picture plan. Whether other environmental factors may dictate that we do something else. And so really just to drive home is we're looking for options that best protect the watersheds in this area here, Bear Creek, and the tributaries that I would say come down into the Pecos River, and as well as protecting the Hamilton Mesa, the watershed on the Pecos River side, so on the west side of the Hamilton Mesa. So looking for actions and options that will give us the greatest chance for success to maintain the integrity of the watershed, and also give us the best opportunities to provide the protection for the communities of Geronimo, Cowles, and coming down Torero, and then further to the west is that, I mean, big picture. So that's really what we want to drive home, is that this is important not only to the folks here, but we know the community, and we want to do what we can from as an incident management team to really protect those values that you guys have out there. And so we know that's important, and that's what we're striving to do. With that, I think that today, just we're trying to check this and hold this with the aircraft today. With the weather, I'm not sure that those folks are going to be able to get up as soon to do those missions. But when they can, we will be evaluating that risk to put the pilots out there and continue with that work. And so that certainly is an option to continue, and it's an option we will use as needed to get the aircraft up, continue the water dropping missions. Like I said earlier, time buys us options, and options are good. And so just continuing to work that through and develop those plans, reinforce, strengthen the control lines that give us the most options for, or most probability for success for being able to hold those dozer lines, hand lines, and containment features. And so a lot of work is going into it. We are ramping up our operation again. It kind of settled down for a little bit when we had it, but we're starting to ramp that back up, bringing in more people, more management folks for that guidance and oversight, so that we can do the best work that we can in here for the communities and the environment, the watersheds, and the values out there. So again, continue to, for the other parts of the fire, continue to make those phone calls as they come up and you guys see things that are concerning. The information hotline is still open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and those folks will answer those calls, and they will send them to the appropriate folks so we can have folks go out and investigate or confirm, ground truth those calls. And then any other questions that you may have that you want to put in the chat and you want to ask about, we're more than happy to try to answer those for you folks. So with that, that'll conclude today's operational update for the South Zone. Please continue to provide us the feedback and the questions. Appreciate that.